they're going to say, well, you're trying to be a polygamist.
Yes.
And some people may say that's greedy.
Men don't even want to say they feel, but it's scary.
Men don't want to say they feel.
Hold on.
Finding a woman with 5 kids right now, it's very hard. But if you have 3 wives and each give you 3, or 1 4 and another 3,
Yes.
you're already there.
Right. Do you believe it's possible for one man or one woman to meet all your needs forever until the end of your life?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't think she's the right candidate to answer this. You should ask a pure African person who has grown around polygamy and sees how it works.
Oh, you're judging me, huh?
No.
You're judging my ability to answer this question.
I
This is New York. You know what I mean? Like, this is New York. I'm familiar with a lot of different ways of being. If someone is so unhappy with what they have that they need to go elsewhere to find what fits them.
You see a beautiful girl, you say, man, she could be my girl. Okay, you go to another country, oh man, this is crazy, she's so beautiful, she could be my girl.
And then you get passport bros.
Gonna leave it all, yeah. I will let it get.
So guys, I'm here with Ayamawa and Lauren, and we are having a conversation about relationships and polygamy in general.
What is for your since we're talking about you training your conscience and your conscience and the way that you basically ethically live your life.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that you've practiced and that are, you know, more or less like you're used to it. Your body will be like, I know how to handle this, whatever. What for you is, oh, I haven't quite mastered that yet. And you also have, like I said, you don't have to actually answer the question if it's too personal, but for you, because nobody's perfect,
100%.
right? So what for you is like, I don't know if I would make the right choice on that.
It's when it comes to dating women, I think that's
What do you mean by that?
I think for me that's the only thing I struggle with at most.
You struggle dating?
No.
Struggle
like,
with what part of it is
so for
lack for you?
For example, I train myself not to want everything in life because I'm able to train my, how do you say, that effect of I want.
You
Desire,
agree?
like,
Greedy.
greed.
Actually, that is it.
Yeah.
So I train myself not to be greedy. So greedy means even if you have one, you get satisfied with it and you try to live with it. Though you can improve on this, you can have another one, but in a very nice process of acquiring something else.
Yes.
You know, like I have one house now, I can
Gluttony,
build another
like
one.
you're avoiding that, like.
Yeah, I want. But now, when it comes to women, for example, you see a beautiful girl, you say, man, she could be my girl. Okay, you go to another country, oh man, this is crazy, she's so beautiful, she could be my girl. And you see, that's where now I'm fighting, you know.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that actually disturbs. Because I'm trying not to be greedy, but you see in this case now, I'm like, bro, you said you're not greedy, but why you wanna date this girl, you wanna date this girl too?
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're going to say, well, you're trying to be a polygamist.
Yes.
And some people may say that's greedy.
Yeah, but in this case now, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Some people may not understand the whole idea of it. At the same time, I'm also asking myself, if I'm training myself to always be satisfied with what I have, why should I think of having many women in my life? You know?
And we have a lady here, so let's ask her, how do you feel about polygamy?
I'm not with it personally.
Yeah.
But,
She's from a different culture, she may not.
but I mean, here's the thing.
It's strange for her, you know?
It's I wouldn't say strange.
Yeah.
I've
ever seen?
I'm familiar with it. This is New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is New York. I'm familiar with a lot of different ways of being. I asked you that question because I figured that was what the answer was going to be.
Yeah.
Because there is a discipline to being happy with the person.
Yeah.
But it's finding what is it that you treasure that allows that thing to feel new every time.
Yeah, that's true.
And when it comes to usually when we want things because, oh, that's exciting, I want that again. That's exciting, I want that again. And whether that excitement is in your head or elsewhere, you still go, I want that again.
Okay.
But if you are dealing with women in general, and especially because of the fact that you're not meeting only local people, and there's no shade to the local, there's no, I'm not being rude to that really, But there is a moment where, and this is just me speaking from my own personal
just be
experience, but there's a moment where you realize that people have exciting new layers, and it's not about, okay, I've had this. When it comes to a person, it's all right. If I feel like I'm at stasis with this person, maybe I'm not deep enough with this person. And that moment where you go, oh, get deeper, that might require discomfort. And if you're excited about discomfort, then it can become something new.
So, do you believe it's possible for one person to meet all your needs? I mean, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Because the issue here, the challenge, and I think that's what people have with arrangements like polyamory, or if you look at the Mormons where they have multiple wives, it is this idea that you can have a lady who's older who can't give birth anymore, but you still love her, but you do want kids, so you can introduce someone else in that relationship, and then you can introduce someone else who maybe enjoys cooking and the other lady don't. I mean, what I'm saying is, for people who are engaged in this lifestyle, in the polygamy lifestyle, is the idea that you can get your needs met by multiple people and still love every single one of them individually. So how do you feel about that?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying.
But before she answers, I'm sorry to cut short. I don't think she's the right candidate to answer this. You should ask a pure African person who has grown around polygamy and sees how it works.
Oh, you're judging me, huh?
No.
You're judging my ability to answer this question.
In the West, I tend to believe it's something new for them. You see somebody like me?
In some ways,
yes.
I have to disagree because, as you brought up the
Mormons have it here, and this
polyamory has been a thing.
We call it differently here.
It's different names.
It's a different name, but it's actually a common thing in the U.S. We call it polyamory. It's not as unknown as you think. Exactly, and then you also have hypocrisy. I think she's interesting because yes, she's not in a country.
Because I'm interesting, I know.
We're not in a country where it's legal, Mawa, but we are in a country where people deal with the same struggles, you know. So I'm curious.
It's a human thing.
It is.
The perspective is a human perspective. The question you asked me, repeat it so if you can remember it.
Do you believe it's possible for one man or one woman to meet all your needs forever until the end of your life?
Yeah. You know, the short answer would be no, but here's how I look at it. I don't think you in the general sense, should look for anyone to meet all your needs in anything. You can have a doctor, they're not going to necessarily be the best doctor. You can have, a teacher, they're not going to know everything about every field they're in. It's the same thing with a person that you're with, your significant other, what have you. Because humans are limited.
Yes.
In general, we can know what we know, and then other things we need to know, it takes some time to know those.
100%.
But what I think as well is that there is, a lot of noise in the background and it's distracting.
Yeah, no,
Give me a
it's okay.
second,
It's okay.
I'll catch the thought again.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, I would ask you though,
Yes.
how much do you know about that person's needs?
Well, that's the challenge, right? We are constantly evolving and changing. Your needs in college are no longer your needs in your 30s.
Absolutely.
Your needs in your 30s are no longer your needs in your 40s and 50s.
So on. Yeah, absolutely.
And then people interest changes. And let's be blunt about this. Sexually, it is no longer the same either, right? I know you can change and make things exciting, but
it also depends on the level of emotional connectivity.
Right.
I bring it up because the thing that I find is men don't even want to say they feel, but it's scary.
Men don't want to say they feel.
Hold on. But when they're scared, they're excited.
Yeah.
And that's new.
Yeah.
That can create excitement.
Yeah.
And you don't have to find another person, because that person you're with has become another person. They've shown you another side. I think there's a lot of assumption that women are very one note, and we bring, like, as you were saying, this skill or that skill or that skill. When the truth is that we're all onions. Men, women, we're all onions. We have so many layers, so many things that we bring. And sometimes it isn't that that person doesn't have that thing. It's that you might not have pressed the button to unlock it. Or might not know that element of them from when they were in college with the friends and or that moment when they were, you know, close with their nana, and so therefore the cooking was like, there is, I think, the question doesn't ask, it's not a bad question, and I don't demonize polygamy. I don't think that one person's way of being is necessarily always right for someone else. My question is, do we consider, first of all, what we are bringing, men, women, are we also all the things that we want?
Well,
and do we know the person enough to actually fairly judge if they can or can't bring that in?
I don't believe you ever fully know someone.
Which means that there's always something to learn.
There's always something to learn.
Actually, what I'm trying to understand this is, I feel like the argument for you and her
Yes.
Warm hands. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just learn.
was
Take
not
your time.
really like
But I wanted to
what
make sure
polygamy is
that you know
about.
that before you like.
So as you guys know, Mawa is very articulate in views on polygamy, and I'm from Africa as well, so this is culturally something that we are accustomed to. But we have Lauren here, and she's giving us her perspective, her point of view. So yeah, this is the second part to this conversation. So, what were you?
You know, for me, when I look at polygamy,
Yes.
I don't see it like trying to find somebody to satisfy some need that another person can't satisfy. It's
I'm listening. I'm so sorry. This phone is just being stupid. But yeah, I'm listening.
for me, when I look at it, I'm more of, for example, a guy like me wants a big family. So let's say 10 kids. I don't know if there's a woman out there who is ready to have 10 kids.
Yes.
One woman. I don't know if there is.
I don't know. That's a challenge.
So in that case, we say, okay, we can have more kids by being polygamous
Yes.
family.
Yes.
What
And-
if she brings kids into the relationship,
Like
and then
how?
you add to them? She had kids before. She had a relationship before that ended.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got 5 kids, but she's willing to give you 5.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the case. Like finding a woman who is able to have 10 kids. For example, it's very hard. Even right now, finding a woman with 5 kids right now, it's very hard. But if you have 3 wives and each give you 3, or 1 4 and another 3,
Yes.
you're already there.
Right.
But again, you know, polygamy in the Western world of view is very different from. I'm 32 years old. I've lived around polygamous families. I've seen what actually it entails. Polygamy actually entails
community.
building an empire. It's not about like sex oriented and stuff. Like people, you can't be satisfied by one woman. It's actually like coming together, ensuring like there will be no lack in that family.
Yeah.
Like as for having many kids, it means we're gonna have success in our lineage. Like other kids will be pilots, others will be this, others will be like that. That's how we see polygamy. We see like actually increasing our odds of survival as a family.
Yeah.
Yes.
But see, here in the West, we have battle of the sexes, right? They're anti-feminism because feminism is destroying relationship, whatever. Regardless how you see or view feminism, we have a battle between men and women when it comes to relationships in the United States and the Western world in general. Whereas in Africa, in general, generally speaking, the man is the head of the household.
It's more patriarchal in
Right.
some places.
Right. So it makes sense in that setting that you can have a man that has willing multiple spouses.
Right.
It makes sense.
Actually,
Because
it's-
that's what they've grown with. That's the norm.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
very
Exactly.
normal. That's one thing I want to insist.
Yeah.
It's like wearing shoes, guys.
Yes.
The thing is, this is all a conversation about consenting adults. So I don't think we
Yes.
need to even worry.
Yeah, no,
you know,
absolutely. It's
about
just
the appropriate.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just people have very strong
all I
feelings
know,
against
all I
it.
know is it's very important how you've brought up. Because, for example,
It colors how you see things.
yes, it's really like it's the same thing as circumcision. You know, like for us boys in our village, you have to stand straight with a spear. The guy will come and pull his foreskin and cut you with a knife, with no anesthesia, with nothing. When everybody's watching, you are not supposed to cry. It is practiced up to today. Actually, if you cry, there's no woman in the village that will date you.
Right,
Somebody will
because
say
it
that is
establishes your
Somebody may say that's barbaric, like
it's tradition.
But think of this: people have been doing it since ever.
Right.
So for other people, it's very normal to go through the same procedure, because kids are brought up to the world seeing these things happening. As they reach the stage, they become part of it, and the cycle goes on. So the same thing as polygamy. You being brought in an environment where it's very normal. For you, even it's strange when people debate it. You know? Yes.
Look, I think that everybody should do what works for them. That's the honest truth.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
I think the one thing that's hard, and again, the standard I set is, can they consent?
Yeah.
Do
You know,
they want to?
actually, in polygamy,
that's my standard.
in Africa is before you marry the second wife,
The first one has to agree
he
to.
has to agree, and there are some rules. For example, if you're dividing property, the first
Larger
wife
share goods.
takes. You see, if this is the table, half of it goes to the first wife. Then from there, the next pieces left are again
subdivided.
divided.
Yes.
Again to the second wife gets half. The other third wife gets the other half of. You
That
understand?
half. Yeah.
Right. But okay, so people have different lifestyles, but we do have to meet somewhere, right? So we go on a date. There's another challenge. Who pays for that first date? The man and the woman are interested. The man and the woman are interested in each other. They go on a date. Like in New York, it's expensive here. Who's supposed, in your eyes, or based on your knowledge, what do you think makes more sense?
Yeah.
The man or the woman should pay, or should they go Dutch? Because as a man, I tell you, if you suggest to go Dutch in the U.S., it seems like it's viewed very negatively.
Well, again, every place has their traditions.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I say it's not about you're right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. I just look at, are you understanding the layers of what you're dealing with? That's true. Right? So in the US, money is power.
Yes.
And in most of the world, power is associated with masculinity.
Yes.
Even though power can go either way, and there's feminine power. And that's not just sexual power.
Yes.
Because most places want to show, and I think generally most men want to be able to say, look, I can carry some stuff and you can trust, and this is, you want to establish some things off the bat. Generally, I think the norm is going to be here, the men pay first. But I'm talking about the first date. Second date, whoever asks pays. You know what I mean?
And actually, for me, for the second,
if the man asks the second date, then he pays again.
Yeah.
If she says, hey, I really want to get ice cream, and there's a truck now, she might pay for the ice cream cones.
Yeah.
Right? Or it might be that, okay, maybe the formal dates that were out at a restaurant or whatever, the man paid because, let's say, just income, right? Like maybe he's making X because we live where women and men aren't paid the same. They just aren't.
Right,
Even for the same job, they aren't. So the man might say, look, just from my sense of what's right and wrong, like what's fair, because I make X, it's not fair for me to ask you to pay for this. But it might mean that there's some dates where it's, I cook you dinner. I do, you know what I'm saying? So it changes.
Yeah.
And I think you figure out what works best based on whether you connect with the person anyway.
Yeah. I honestly believe, and
Because if you don't connect, what does it matter?
I know
mean,
what
you
the-
don't date longer than
Yeah, I understand, but there's really true pressure that men have.
Yeah.
If you go out with a professional lady
Yeah.
to say, let's go Dutch, honestly, I think it's viewed negatively. And in the
Dutch
place,
is when a man pays.
Yeah.
go half and half.
Oh.
Half and half is going Dutch. And in the same country where you have women say we are equal, it's kind of I think.
Okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying, 'cause I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
So you're saying in your experiences where the women are making more,
They still expect
so you
you
want
to
go.
be.
Okay, and so if the pressure you're saying is
Yeah.
like if I say let's do Dutch,
Dutch,
you get
cheap.
looked at differently.
Yes, you're cheap. You don't like me. You're not a man. You're not a gentleman. There's all these
But
things.
I gotta ask you, what makes you pick these women?
Well, it's not just me. These are just a general conversation.
That's the general question.
Just
Not like you.
because I'm leading you
but
towards
like,
another issue.
Okay.
And that's why I'm taking you there. Because next I want to talk to you about the whole passport bro thing. So that's why I'm taking you there.
Okay.
Because this is not the Ivan problem. This is a men problem. There's a reason why
happens.
we have an increase of men traveling overseas to seek a loving
Men
partner.
have always gone overseas.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
like,
now
so that's
it's
not
nothing
new.
new. But now it's in the media. Now people are discussing it. Now we have a name. Now,
Thank you guys for stopping by for sure.
All right, bro.
thank you.
I will send you that text
Hey,
message.
Kenya is welcome here.
Yeah,
okay?
thank you, bro.
So let everybody know back home.
Yeah.
Marwa, anybody who's watching, you're welcome here at AT&T Times Square. We got y'all.
All right. You know, how do you view this issue with now we have an increase of men traveling overseas to seek a loving partner,
Right.
and it's been demonized here.
Yeah. Well, you also have to look at American history.
Yes.
It was founded from a Puritan perspective, which is a very, very orthodox, conservative Christian thing. It doesn't really exist that, to my knowledge, anymore. So that's going to influence how people see it in general. But men have, since the beginning, been going here and there and finding somebody. You know, I think. Whether it's right or wrong is, again, that's an eye of the beholder thing, like how beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think there is an idea of go where you're watered, and in that way I can understand it. If someone is so unhappy with what they have that they need to go elsewhere to find what fits them, again, safe, sane, consensual. That's my big thing. Outside of that, not outside, but like in that kind of knowledge base, you in the general sense doing what you have to do, I can't judge it. I think it just makes me want to ask more questions. My question is, why doesn't it fit? What were your expectations? Were all your expectations fair? Was the other person's expectation fair? You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying it both ways,
Yes.
not just one.
100%.
And I think, too, my question is, again, for that person you're going toward, what are they expecting? And what's their circumstance?
Yes.
Because think about it like this, just immigration in general. You go to another country because you need a job. You're going to find someone there because that's where your life is happening. You marry that person. You're going where you're watered.
Of course.
That's leaving your country. That's
Right.
finding somebody.
100%.
That doesn't get necessarily demonized because I think we understand the context of
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
For somebody where they're like, the only reason I'm leaving is for the relationship, I don't know, again, that I can demonize as a whole because
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Yes.
individual thing. I look at like relationships are very individual.
Yes.
And based on a person's life experience, their cultural background, what they want, what their hurts, their joys, their all that stuff, it's going to affect whether they say like, I can find it here or
Yes.
I'm going to go over there. The only thing that I would say that comes up for me is an ethical question of choice.
Yes.
As long as the other person can actively choose without
Yes.
feeling like, and I don't mean it like, there are women who are in tough straits and they choose, all right, I'm gonna go with this foreigner because I see options, I see a way, but they want the option. They want to, that's not the same as somebody who's 12 saying, I don't even know what a husband is.
Yeah.
Right? So in that circumstance, that's not a choice. That person can't make a choice.
Yeah.
As long as the person on the other end can make the choice
Yeah.
voluntarily,
Yeah.
I have very little space to judge.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't see it as a battle of the sexes, although I know that that's how it feels because what I think happens is we have so much emotion tied to it because human beings are emotional beings. That's just the psychological
Yeah.
thing, that's not me. Sorry I've hit you.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's this thing where like, as people, we all, like I said before, we all carry hurts.
Yeah.
We all carry stuff that we're like, I kind of need someone who's going to get me on this, and it's not something I can really compromise on.
Yeah.
As long as everybody in the relationship gets to have that part heard,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my thought.
So Marwa, you're a full-time traveler.
Yeah.
You are also a black man.
Yeah.
You're going to be labeled more now with this whole thing becoming a name, passport bro.
Yeah.
And I know we
But I
discussed
feel
this.
like
Who
it's
chose
more,
the
it's-
name?
it's
I don't know.
more
It's such a weird
American, like American men. Not,
Yeah,
not
but if you
really
go to Brazil, you have your GoPro, people
Yeah.
will look at you and think all kind of stuff. And you have to be a little bit more careful, especially if you're addressing relationships and things like that. And I know that, you know, your topics are much broader than that,
Yeah.
but it is still something that you will deal with. So how do you see this? How do you see this whole issue?
It's the same as Lorena has said. It's not something new.
Yeah.
It's been here. Only that now it's getting a lot of media attention. But also that can tell you there is a problem, because people who are complaining about it, it means it has really hit them hard. Yes. Otherwise, they will
Then
not
they just move on.
They will not have started talking about it. So in that case, I would say is maybe as governments now, not even people. As governments, they should try to see maybe if there's something they are doing that is bringing all this stability of
Yes.
success moving out. Others saying we can't date our own people, because it's very strange if you can't date your own people, you know, especially in the same country, especially like yeah, because
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. you
That's
know.
a specific thing. I don't think he knows that he brought up a thing, but yeah.
But it's so true.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
but you look at like a country with like the States has over 350 million.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's almost 400.
So it's very
yeah.
strange that in a 350 million population, you can't find somebody.
And so
have
much
to-
of it is economic.
Yeah.
So much is economic. So many people get judged based on their money.
Yeah, that's the funny thing.
And that's
So it becomes
exactly-
really hard
Yes.
Yeah.
for you to say, like, look, I bring all this other stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm not necessarily going to bring, and this is not me being a pick-me, please keep that in there,
Yes.
because I'm not.
Yes.
But it's like how, okay, you can tie a few things to economics. You can tie a few things. Generally, the worse the economy does, the fewer marriages you tend to have in general. People delay having kids because they can't afford kids. They as well have poor mental health because no one's like, yay, poverty. No one wants that.
Yeah,
It's a
that's true.
circumstance.
Yes.
So, you know, when you find you find in the countries where they have a lot of wealth, and on top of that they have things to help when it comes to raising kids, like social support and daycare that's, you know, finance and stuff like that. The women are so much more comfortable if it's a question of kids or whatever. They're much more comfortable having them because they go, oh, I'm not going to be left flailing in the
Yes.
wind if I subject myself to what's going to be potentially 4 years of my life being held back financially.
Yeah.
And with the men, it's like, well, if I'm held back financially and she's stressed about being held back financially, well, what are we going to do? I'm going to go over there where the money is shining a little brighter. The women seem to have lower expectations. I'm not saying that's true or not, but some people believe that. Different culture usually, just a different perspective. And that's what happens. So that point that Marwa was making about the it being a government thing, it's so much more a government thing than a social thing, but it gets put on the people.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
And it's like now everyone's fighting each other, and it's like it really
But
isn't.
no, it's a government thing. For example, governments can support families. They can support like free education. They can reduce that burden that makes people even afraid to raise kids in their own country. You know, things like that.
Because that's also a big part of why you see in most westernized countries the decreasing birth rate.
Yeah, because it's
Because
becoming
people-
too expensive, and you don't have a job that can sustain you to have a nanny in your own house as
A
you
nanny,
work.
or if you want,
Yeah,
parental leave so the husband can also take off to know his children.
yeah, imagine.
So that you could, it's creating it's so about making the businesses work that it doesn't help the workers live.
Right.
And then you get passport bros, and because they know what they hurt, and the person who's upset at passport bros knows where they hurt.
Yes.
All they're doing is talking past each other about what hurts.
Right.
And that's the human part where we don't communicate very well.
A huge discussion to conclude this also about submissiveness, and let's not go too deep on this, but
I won't.
it's it seems like that's also something that people are seeking overseas. They talk about more feminine women and more submissive females as well, and I think a lot of guys are seeking that, and that's why Latin America in particular is very attractive, because culturally it's
But
very
you know
similar.
what's funny? Every group of women I've met has not been. It's a lot to generalize any group as having these guys are on a whole submissive, because
Yes.
what you'll find is they just communicate differently. But
yeah.
their demanding and their boundary and their standards
Yeah.
just appear differently. It was like when you were talking about how for some people you say, I just give you 3 times and that's the rule. They don't know that.
Yeah.
They just know that that's your boundary.
right.
Someone coming in is like, oh, he helped me 3 times, which is actually nice.
Yeah.
But the point is that you don't have that awareness of how they communicate their boundary. And I think that happens a lot where cultures get assigned like, oh, you're submissive.
Closing
you're
the
not.
shop.
Oh, you're submissive or you're not submissive. When it's really just about like, they just don't do it the way that
We do.
you think it looks.
Right. All right.
You know.
Well, on that note, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the conversation with Lauren.
Hopefully I've not alienated everyone.
We have I am our perspective here, the full-time traveler. You have Lauren, and hey, thank you for watching. Are you good to go with your card now, with your phone?
Yeah, it's functioning.
Hey.
Alright.
From time to time, before you do anything stupid, think before you speak your mind. 'Cause